Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. So I wanted to talk about this legendary unit that came from Abbey Roads. It's the Chandler Limited 12413 is what it's known. Also, aka on Round the Block, Round the Way, the Chandler Zener Limited. Okay, the limiter. All right, so this is a great limiter compressor I love to use a lot, and I want to show you guys a couple different ways I like to use it. So let's not waste no time. Let's get on the grind and let's see what gems we can find.
Baby, don't you be like that, emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that, emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, control you.
Okay, so let's listen to this right now. So the main thing that people always talk about gluing your mix. You got to use a bus compressor to glue your mix. Sometimes a way I like to glue my mixes if I feel like they need to be glued is I like to use the same plugin but in a bunch of different ways. And that in itself will kind of be like the influence of the, kind of like a little bit of the, how can I say, it's leaving a marking. The compressor is leaving a marking all throughout the mix, but in a bunch of different ways. So you hear this consistent sound that's, oh, hey, I seen you before. Hey, I seen you before. Hey, I seen you before. It's a recognizable cousin that you see every Thanksgiving. So that's how I like to use plugins sometimes. Use the same plugin throughout a mix in different ways. So that's what I was doing here to get my mix glued. So understanding something like this, right? Um, you know, you have the Zener limiter from UAD. I think Softtube is the one that originally made it, got ported over to UAD. So you have the Zener limiter, and then you also have the one made by Kiive Audio, which is very, very dope. So let me look at the controls really quickly. You have a situation here where there's actually like I would say a fixed threshold. So you have a starting line pretty much, right? It's kind of like NASCAR. The Zener limiter is saying, look, listen, buddy, this is my starting line right here. If you want to race, you put your car right here. And that's where the starting line is if you want to be a part of the race, right? So if you want to get a part of a little bit of piece of that compression, you have to participate in this fixed threshold that they got. So you have to take this input and drive the compressor or the audio signal. You have to drive the audio signal to that finish line, like how you would take a car and you would drive it to that that starting line and everything like that. Okay, cool, you understand what I'm saying. But the main thing is you have the high input and you have the low input. So here is a way I like to use it by doing a parallel compression. So Tony Maserati is a guy who loves to use it. So it has a very silky colored way of being full and very glossy. That's what I was going here for his vocals. It's a type of singing vocal, so I knew I had to use that. So let's listen to it real quick.
Baby, don't you be like that, emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that, emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot.
I used a little bit of the parallel compressor, crushing the Zener limiter, which has diode bridge components. And those diode bridge components are very, very, very important because they give a lot of that color. They give you here a little bit of some top end sheen that sounds very organic, but also gives a little bit of that, just a nice little crunch, just a little, when you have Oreos and you break them up a little bit and they're crumbling a little bit, kind of like that cookie crumbling type of sound is what I'm looking for. Sweet, but still, mumbled up a little bit, jagged a little bit, right? So I like to use the THD and push it in there. And of course, you have like the internal side chain, you have the attack and the release. I mean, a lot of people have talked about this plugin before, so I just wanted to show you guys how there's a great alternative to it, just in case if you can't afford it. But yeah, using this parallel compression to put my lead vocal out in front. You hear a lot of a presence. Now you feel like there's a little bit of separation between that lead vocal and the background vocals because I use, this Zener limiter, crushed the hell out of it and blended it back in. All right. And of course, I feel like if you use the sidechain filter, it will produce a little bit of cleaner compression because it won't look at the low end, but the low end still is still going to get compressed, of course. Next thing that I like to use, this one specifically here, I use the Kiive audio on my harmonies. So like literally all his little harmonies, his little sing emotional, I used it here, right? And essentially, the Kiive, for me personally, I think that it's a little bit better just because it gives you a little couple extra features like the width. It lets you control a little bit, kind of like a situation where you get to control the input and the output before it even hits this plugin. You know what I mean? Because depending on how you hit this plugin, it's gonna produce a different sound, a different type of reaction. So with my harmonies, I use the fastest release and I use the very fast attack to grab on to those harmonies. Usually harmonies, if you just pay attention to the waveform, like stabs and stuff like that too, it's kind of like transient information. Emotional, are you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot of that emphasis, right? So because I want to still have it be very, like kind of like an anchor in the ground, I use the fast attack because this plugin in general, these compressors are a lot of the older compressors. They in general, their attack times are kind of slow compared to what we have right now, compared to something like, let's say, like a Weiss compressor or like a Fab Filter Pro C. Like a lot of those digital compressors, those are real microsecond fast times. But when you see a fast time on a plugin like this, it ain't really all that fast. It's not really all that fast. It's like somebody who said, "Yeah, I used to run track in high school. I was really fast back in the day." But then you put them on an NFL team and they slow as hell. It's kind of like the speed is relative. You feel me? So let's look at how I used it here. I used the compression mode, and then after that, fast attack, fast release, and I went pretty aggressive with this, and I pushed it with the width knob as well. I like the width knob as well because it's just a different feature. It's a different tool, a different feature from the soft tube version that helps a lot.
Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you.
So I really love this a lot on the harmonies because it's a situation where you still hear the harmonies, but the fast attack is actually pushing them back a little bit. And I did use the mix knob here as well. I blended it back a lot because I really don't want it to be too obvious because they're just harmonies and they're coming around once in a while. So I pulled the mix back a lot. So using parallel compression on something like harmonies is perfect. It's perfect as hell. Is game. It's game because it's still kind of gluing the lead vocal to the background vocals through like the tonality because they share the same components, like how I was saying in the beginning. They share the same components, so you still feel like they're related to each other. They're both brunettes. You could kind of tell that they're sisters. But then when you start to listen to it a little bit deeper, which is like the positioning of it, like which is the fast attack, that's what it's doing, and also the movement, the fast release as well. It's kind of letting you distinguish it at the same time while making you not forget about it. So let's look at the last way that I love to use something like the Zener limiter, and this is kind of like a way of bringing a little bit of grain, bringing a little bit of nastiness, a little bit of emotional impact to the song, because even though he's singing, this is still a rap song, and that you hear that open hi-hat. I wanted that open hi-hat to vibrate, kind of like when I have my iPhone and somebody texts you and it kind of vibrates. I wanted the open hats to vibrate a little bit, but I don't have access to the stem, so I use parallel distortion on the whole entire mix. I used parallel distortion on the whole entire mix. I pushed the input as hard as I could, and I turned off the axial compression, which is the out mode. If you click out, it's just the components. Now you're using it as a saturator. I'm using it as a parallel distorter to add grit to my mix.
Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you...
Using a little bit of parallel distortion specifically, you hear it, it's blowed up the whole way. Like if I took a balloon and I made that bitch so big to the point where it almost popped, but I didn't pop it, right? I blended it back in, you feel me? So it's just like this big enormous sound that's kind of sitting behind the original source signal. And I like this one a lot because it's not overbearing. You know, at the end of the day, this is still like a rap R&B type of song. We still want it to bang in the whip. And, you know, because it was like a soft type of singing song, I feel like the kick and everything was just a little bit too laid back, a little bit too chill. You know, he's talking about being emotional. As an engineer, you got to understand that. You got to have some type of emotional intelligence, because if he's talking about emotional, I just want to hold you, it made me again like that. If you imagine that feeling, if you can draw from those feelings inside of you, you would be like, yo, when you're emotional, that shit makes you chaotic. It makes you crazy. It makes you wild. So that's why I picked something that is wild, you know, which is like parallel distortion.
Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you. And if you ever feeling sad, you know what it is you do to me. Your love give me that dopamine. God didn't make you perfect for me. Baby, don't you get like that emotional. I just wanna hold you. And lately you've been getting mad. I cannot, yeah, control you.
A couple of other benefits that you're getting from using this parallel distortion is that low level detail, all the little low level detail of the guitar. You know, I you know, if I had the stems, you know, you can easily fix something like that. But if you only got the 2-track and you're like, man, I'm losing a little bit of that main melody, might want to try a little bit of parallel distortion using something like this, because a lot of that saturation is focused in that mid range, especially that upper mid range. You hear is helping those guitars cut through. You still hear his voice as well. So I love, absolutely love using that type of plugin because it's very colored, very diode bridge. You know, Rupert Neve was the daddy of diode bridge. You know, he kind of started it with the you know, the Neve, what is it, the 2254, then that later became the 33609, which he didn't create. But those diode bridge components are very colored, and you hear that sheen but still that warmth at the same time. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. If you guys learned something, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all right? Drop more video suggestions down below. Appreciate you now, YouTube gang. Peace.